Republican. He was one of the co-chairmen of Donald Trump's campaign for re-election in Massachusetts last year, and he's written a letter, and it was signed by it's so many sheriffs, hundreds of sheriffs from across the country, and they're asking help America's sheriffs keep our neighborhoods and communities safe by halting illegal immigration. And I'll just read you a couple of sentences of it, and then we'll talk to Sheriff Tom Hodgson. Dear Mr. President, America's sheriffs are deeply troubled about the dangerous impacts your administration's border policies are having on our citizens, legal residents, and communities. You must act now before our nation's public safety resources are overwhelmed with the criminal side effects of unchecked illegal immigration, including transnational gangs, guns, dangerous drugs, and human trafficking. America's sheriffs urge you, Mr. President, to reverse course and help us protect our communities by securing the southern border. We, the undersigned sheriffs like you, took oaths and made promises to the American people that we would uphold and enforce the rule of law. The crisis at the southern border is penetrating our neighborhoods throughout the interior of the United States, thus undermining our unyielding commitment to protect we the people. Thanks for being with us today, Sheriff Hodgson.
Howie, thanks for having me on.
I'm guessing that when the phone don't ring, you'll know it's President Biden. Right? Responding.
Yeah, exactly. You know, this situation right now is the most troubling part of all of it, Howie. The crisis that's been created at the border was predictable that it was going to happen because both President Biden and his DHS secretary have been aware that this border crisis or the open border concept created problems in the past when they were in office. When he was the undersecretary, he being Mayorkas, I was at 2 meetings in Washington, 2 separate times, and he was well aware at that time. We were talking about what's going on when these people are coming over the border and the impacts on our communities, not just at the border, but across the United States. And we basically got lip service both times, but he was aware of it. And so was President Biden. And frankly, even before he was vice president, he's a senator. I've been working on immigration reform for almost 25 years with Washington. And he was in office at that time. They've been well aware of all the angel moms and dads who've lost their loved ones over all these years by their inaction. And then for him to unravel the building of the wall, the policies in place with Mexico and the Northern Triangle countries to prevent people from coming across, which was working under President Trump. 2 days after he gets in, having the history he had and the knowledge he had, open up these borders and expose us to all the carnage of death. I mean, I just saw an article from Sheriff Martinez out of Valverde, Texas. He's got 110 miles of border along the Mexican border. He has 4 deputies. He's 75% of his time for his deputies is not spent protecting his county. He's having to deal with dragging bodies out of the Rio Grande. He said he just dragged a mother out of there with twins who was in full term. The father was on the other side, floating in the water. He's had to deal with kids, that have died right there on their border in their county.
Right.
Who've tried to get somewhere to get some help.
And, Texas Governor Greg Abbott had a press conference last night. I mean, this was, a nighttime press conference just to announce that children are being starved and sexually abused at these overcrowded facilities. While Kamala Harris is going to some yuppie bakery to get a croissant. And, they don't care. And they keep saying, well, it's not a crisis, but
in the White House, Howie.
You look at the numbers. 34,000 came across in March of 2020. 34,000. I mean, that's 34,000 too many as far as I'm concerned. It was 170,000 this March. 5 times as many illegal aliens coming across the southern border.
Yeah, and keep in mind, Howie, that 170. A lot of people think, oh, well, they're right there along the border. If you look at the Pew Research report from 2007 to 2017, guess what state had the highest number or highest influx of illegal immigrants in the United States? Massachusetts. We're 2,500 miles from the border. So for the listeners, it's important for them to understand these people are coming into communities all over. And if you take that 650,000 during that period of time, 2007 to 2017, that would be six and a half of the population of the fourth highest, the fourth largest city in Massachusetts, New Bedford. Okay, so you'd have 6.5 New Bedfords. Where are you going to find 6.5 New Bedfords that can accommodate with vacant homes, vacant churches, with hospitals, grocery stores, jobs? Where are you going to
jobs
find that?
is the most important thing.
Go?
They can't support themselves when they come over. They're just going to become wards of the state. Public charges. It used to be when we had a sane immigration system, you couldn't come across the border and you couldn't come into the United States if you were going to become a public charge or if you had an infectious disease. That's what Ellis Island was all about. But now they're testing them and they test positive for COVID-19. They put them on a bus and send them to one of the states in the interior and they go on welfare.
Yeah. And how you're hitting all the points that I think have gotten the American people to say, what is going on? We have no leadership in the White House. They just don't. They are sort of just bowling ahead with their progressive socialist agenda. And what's happened here, and this is the real tragedy. We have a president of the United States who has had the knowledge of knowing what this open border thing is doing to America over all these years. And he chose, knowing that, to put his political agenda above the safety and the security of the people that we promised to protect, including him. And this is the most outrageous thing that's going on. And we're going to see more angel moms and dads, unfortunately, kids that are going to lose, parents are going to lose their loved ones at the hands of more drugs pouring in to our neighborhoods. You're going to see more transnational gang violence. They're coming across. They just caught another MS-13.
Yeah, I saw that. I just saw that today. Yeah, just today, another gangbanger. And all those murders that took place in Massachusetts, Maryland, Long Island. These MS-13 gangbangers that came across during the Obama-Biden administration, unaccompanied minors, they were finally getting that situation under control, and now we have another influx of these MS-13 gang members coming in. There's going to be, you're right, there's going to be dozens, if not hundreds, of murders. How about the terrorists or the people on the terror watch list coming across the border? And they're not, and their response is they delete the press release so that out of sight, out of mind, or out of mind, out of sight. What we're going to forget that these terrorists are people on the terror watch list from Yemen are coming across the border. Gee, I wonder what they're going to do when they get over here.
Well, Howie, that's your question your ending question there is a great point. I hope everybody's listening and remembering when the 9/11 terrorists came here, right? They hadn't done anything wrong at that point. What if those 2 Yemen terrorists that just came in hadn't gotten caught? How do we know that they weren't getting ready to go, perform another 9/11 attack on New York or some other place?
I know.
How do we know that? We don't know that.
Yeah, we just had 10 Americans killed by somebody, a legal immigrant from Syria. I mean, these people were sneaking across the border. What the hell were they up to?
And keep in mind the numbers you've been talking about. Those are only the ones that we know that came in, right? And so this is where the real problem lies, and it's getting insidious all the way across our country. Remember, we just in Massachusetts, kudos to ICE in Massachusetts and to the task forces working with them. They just caught about a week and a half ago, they caught one of the 10 most wanted illegal aliens in the United States here in Massachusetts.
And they took a lot of crap because they stopped the guy on, I think, the VFW Parkway in West Roxbury. They thought he met the description of this illegal alien, this Haitian, and they stopped him. They took a lot of crap, but I'm glad they took him off the street. How about this from the Washington Examiner? ICE is taking over 7 more hotels near the southern border in Arizona and Texas, as the federal agency begins placing more illegal aliens released from Border Patrol custody into the hotels. Hotels, they're paying for their hotels. These people have no jobs, they have no prospects, they have no English. Many of them are COVID-19 positive. They're just coming over here to go on the dole.
And when they put them on a bus, Howie, to go to wherever, somewhere in the United States, they're giving them $1,100, startup check. And when I was down there last, they were about to. This is during the Obama administration. I was in McAllen. They were getting ready to buy a resort hotel with a pool to put these illegal aliens in. And we have senior citizens who can't get into public housing, who worked all their lives supporting their churches, their civic organizations, did all the right things, made sacrifices all the way through their lives. And then when they, one of the spouses dies and they need to be in senior housing, they're told, well, you do qualify, but I'm sorry, we don't have any room available now. You're just going to have to wait a year or 2 years, because we're 20% at least in those housing projects or elderly housing are illegal. And so the American people, look, we're the most generous country in the world. And, President Trump, when he put the policies in place, he was always looking, whether people liked how he said things or whatever, isn't the point. The question is, look at what he did and look at what's now happening that isn't getting done and is being unraveled, and the results you're getting.
Yeah.
And that's where the Biden administration has really, honestly, I think, and recklessly put the American people in a very dangerous place.
Yeah, and look at New York. I mean, they just passed a budget. I think they put in $2 billion for relief for so-called unemployed illegal aliens. You can get up to $15,000 for if you're an illegal alien in New York State, and the advocates, quote unquote, in the legislature for the illegals said, well, if you don't support this, you're a racist. I didn't realize that the illegal aliens are now a race. Sheriff Hodgson.
Yeah, that's the other. Yeah, I know. This is the lunacy that's going on right now in this whole debate over illegal immigration. I'll tell you, the sheriffs in this country, there were 200, almost just under 300 sheriffs signed on to this letter, because they're all from all walks of the different parts of the United States. It's border sheriffs all the way up to New York, up to New Jersey, New Hampshire, who are all saying, look, we have our boots on the ground. We see what's going on. We are watching the drugs pouring in, the gang violence, all the things that are happening. And nobody except in the former administration who brought us in, sat us down, and the president said, talk to me and tell me what are the issues. And he created the policies around the things that the people who have their boots on the ground were seeing every day, because we were representing the interests and are representing the interests of the American people.
How many of these sheriffs, Sheriff Hodgson, how many of these sheriffs are that signed this are Democrats?
I don't know the number, but I can tell you the sheriff I just quoted from
Texas,
Valverde, Texas. He's a Democrat, and he said, I wish these people would come down here and just for once see what I see every day, and take the time instead of spending their time playing these games and arguing back and forth.
We'll put a link on our website so that people can read the letter. And Taylor, can you handle that?
That would be great.
Yeah, so that they
how we're also rallying. The sheriffs are mobilizing all over this country, because we believe we are the one group that the people in the community trust, and that they can stand behind, so we can get this country back and get the rule of law back. And we're part of an organization. We're building this organization called Protect America Now, which is www.protectamericanow.com, where we're asking all the groups across the country, citizens, to stand with us, because we're going to stand for you.
Okay.
We're not going to back down.
Okay, Sheriff Hodgson, we got to wrap it up, but we really appreciate you being with us. And again, we'll tweet out your letter that your group has put out. Thank you. Why buy gold? Are you watching what is happening in the world today? global pandemic, U.S. debt piling up, spiking inflation. We're talking about the out of control border and the looming Biden tax plan. In the 2008 financial crisis, many Americans lost a large portion of their retirement savings. So what are you doing now to protect your money? Well, many turned to Goldco, the leading gold IRA company in the U.S. and four-time Inc. 500 winning company. With an A-plus rating from the Better Business Bureau and thousands of five-star customer reviews, you can trust the team at Goldco to help you protect and grow your wealth. Go to Goldco, goldco.com/Howie Carr to request your free IRA guide that uncovers the secret that financial advisors won't tell you. So what are you waiting for? Don't delay and fall victim to another stock market crash, inflation hike, or dollar decline. Visit goldco.com/Howie Carr to get your free IRA guide today. If you visit goldco.com/Howie Carr now, Goldco will give you up to $10,000 in free silver when you open a qualifying account. That's right, up to $10,000 in free silver. I'm Howie Carr.
Got hate mail?
You got anything on your chest besides your chin, you better get it off.
Send it off to Grace at HowieCarrshow.com.